if we were rating slashers using superheroes, Michael Myers would be second tier. Now, when it comes to the upper echelon of slasher villains, it's Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger. I mean, they are the MCU of slashers. And Michael Myers is the DCU of slashers. Now, I gotta admit, I love myself some Michael Myers. I'm one of the few people who think that his movies are all important because they all seem to tell a story, so I enjoy them all. But when Halloween came out, it was a thing of beauty. Revolutionary as how it took the genre by storm. I mean, Michael Myers sort of made the slasher villain front and center of the horror world. But by the mid-80s, the landscape had changed. So here are like 5 reasons why Michael Myers was never popular as Jason Voorhees. Reason number 1, no continuity. Now, when it comes to Halloween, the biggest knock on it was that as a franchise, while it had a lot of movies, it lacked continuity. I think the franchise rebooted itself like 2, 3, maybe 4 times. And with each iteration of the character, some filmmaker kept messing up the timeline. And while Michael came first, Jason Voorhees told a more consistent story. Now, like from 1980 to about 1993, Jason Voorhees had a linear story. I mean, they were cranking out sequels without destroying their timeline. And that built history, that built mystique and credibility. And Jason Voorhees just became more powerful while Halloween couldn't figure out who Michael Myers really was. Now, reason number 2, it fell behind fast. Like in 1978, Halloween created the standard for the modern day slasher villain, but it perfected what was already there. It relied heavily on story, suspense, and psychology. Now, Halloween was not really a bloody movie, and I think people truly appreciate that simplicity. But in 1981, Halloween 2 came out, and in that short period of time, the slasher genre had changed so much that Halloween was now trying to play catch up. I mean, it had to include more blood, more gore, and sex. I mean, it had to learn to operate outside of what made it great just to get with the trend. And the horror world already had exploded and surpassed the brutality that was in 1978's Halloween. And believe it or not, Halloween has been trying to play catch up ever since. Hey, but that's just me. What do you think? And reason number 3, the lack of identity. Now, when it comes to Michael Myers, he's always been durable. I mean, it takes a lot to put him away. His character sort of skirts the line between human and supernatural, and it did so for a long time, and we didn't know what he was. But on the other hand, Jason was overtly an unkillable monster. You knew nothing could destroy him, and that became a staple of Jason. He was the guy who could take punishment and keep coming back. And essentially, Jason was more fleshed out than Myers. Now, it's one thing to not give Myers a backstory or a motive, but it's another thing when you can't decide on if he's human or not. And because of that, Jason stood out more. And that will bring us to our next point. Now, I gotta know, how do you prefer your Michael Myers? Is it the no backstory, he's just evil personified Michael? Or is it the Cult of Thorn Michael? Or is it the Rob Zombie nature versus nurture backstory? Now, I gotta give Rob his props and say that his version of Michael Myers is like the best version. It's canon in my own think space. Now, I like the idea of Michael just being a ticked off 7-foot mute who was just physically bullied and verbally abused as a kid. And one day he just snapped. And to me, that whole vibe of Michael surrounding being the thing that made him the way he is, that appealed to me. Now, I know what you're thinking. Michael is supposed to be just pure evil, and evil doesn't need a reason to unleash itself. And yes, I honestly get that. I'm with you. And to be fair, yes, I agree with you. But I think people often forget the nuance in Rob's thinking. Now, critics would argue that what Rob was doing was making the case that anyone could be put through Michael's upbringing and would turn out to be Michael Myers. And though I respect that opinion, in fact, it's completely wrong. No, it's wrong. What Rob was saying was that Michael Myers was the only person who could have become this shape. And I think people, most of you, missed that. And I think it completely went over your heads. Now, let me explain. The message was subtle, but it was still obvious. You see, long before Michael Myers kills anyone, he's already killing animals and torturing them. And that was a sign of a kid who was at least destined to become some sort of violent monster. I mean, you take that kid who's showing the early signs of a psychopath and place him in the home of a practically absentee and morally corrupt mother, no real father, and the only male figure in his life is just some guy who will do and say anything to sleep with his sister. And then there's Ronnie, who is an abusive person to his mom, pervs on his sister, and hates any and everyone. And that is the only true man in Michael's life. And that rage from Ronnie just makes any sense of normalcy at home null and void. Not to mention, this version of Michael is often bullied. He feels as though the world is against him, and without an outlet, he's going to exhibit behaviors in the healthiest way that he knows. And what is the healthiest outlet for this kid? It's killing animals. I mean, this is the only part of his life that makes him feel like he's totally in control. And for a kid without control over anything in his life, he's going to crave that control like an addict needs drugs. So when he kills his first victim, which is one of his bullies, he, meaning Michael Myers, realizes that this is the greatest freedom in the world. Now, he now has control over his bullies and people who do him wrong. So he's replacing animals with humans. And this sets off a chain reaction of family murders until he no longer feels the need to communicate. And thus, the Shape is born. And that is what makes Rob Zombie's Halloween a complete masterpiece. But that's just me. What about you? And reason number 4, he was replaced by Jason. Yeah, before too long, Michael Myers was essentially replaced by Jason Voorhees. Now, both guys walked around in white masks, stabbing and stalking their victims. And whenever you have characters that are so close in description, the one who stands out the most usually wins over the fans. And when it comes to Friday the 13th, the franchise itself was first created to mock Halloween and its tropes. And I think it's very ironic that it would spawn a character that would ultimately replace Michael Myers by the mid-80s and 90s. I mean, Jason was stronger, faster, and more durable, and had gorier kills and even sexier women that also showed more nudity. I mean, it was Halloween in the campgrounds, and it outclassed Halloween at every turn. But that's just me. What do you think? And reason number 5, Freddy changed the game. Now, prior to 1985, your slashers were always the silent type who stalked their victims in the dark. But then Wes Craven gave us Freddy Krueger. And in doing so, Freddy changed the game on what a slasher villain could be. I mean, he was sinister and comical, perverse, yet ominous at the same time. I mean, you had a villain who could not only talk and manipulate his victims, he could kill you in your sleep. But it's not just that he could kill you in your sleep. He would take places you deemed safe and alter them to be your worst nightmares. I mean, he was the definition of you can run, but you can't hide. And this knocked Myers down even a bit more. I mean, Jason Voorhees had already been established as the better version of Michael Myers. And with Freddy in the mix, he rewrote the standard for what a slasher villain was. And this would ultimately hurt the popularity of Michael Myers. And until next time, when CEDtalks horror.